kindly asked me to make a video. It's for you and your classmates and whoever else out there on the interwebs wants to learn how to do a 90-degree haircut. Now, as we all know, there's 50 million different ways to do one haircut. This is just the way I do it. If this is not how you were taught is not wrong. It's just different because there's 10 million ways to do one thing in cosmetology, as you will find out the longer that you are behind the chair. And I hope that's for a very, very long time, because it's a very rewarding career. And a lot has changed. A lot has changed in the last 15 years that I have been a hairstylist. And they've been positive changes. So I'm excited to get back behind the chair, and also excited to make some of these videos for you guys. And hopefully they will help you understand a little bit more about haircutting if you're having any kind of challenges, and make you more successful. Because who doesn't like to be successful, right? Right, okay. So now I've gotten Miss Lucy all ready for her haircut. I previously cut her perimeter, and I've gotten her sectioned off in the back, which I'll turn her around and show you. Whee! Round and round she goes. Where she stops, oh, nobody knows. There she goes. You have been doing the 90-degree for years and years and years. You don't have to start off with, you know, these kind of sectioning. You can definitely, you know, take this and do what you will with it. This is just how I teach someone who has never done this haircut before. This is how I teach it, section by section. So if you're more advanced, I can do a more advanced way of sectioning and cutting this haircut. But this is going back to basics, which, you know, it's never a bad idea. So here we go. So I've gotten English. So we have, there we go. So we have a 1-inch section in the middle. So how I measure is because my little stubby nubs for fingers, my thumb is 1 inch wide. Congratulations, yes. My award's coming in the mail. No, yeah, my finger's 1 inch wide. And so all of our sections, when we're first learning to cut hair, we want to make sure that there are no wider than 1 inch, because of the fact that anything that's wider than 1 inch is going to start doing this, and we don't want it to do that, because if it travels further than it's supposed to, it's going to be longer than it's supposed to. So it's going to cause overdirection. Overdirection causes length to be retained, which in this case we don't want retention of length, we want layering. So, and off my soapbox I get. So let's get into the actual layering of this haircut. I do know that half of my head is cut off, but I am not the center of attention in this video. So if my head disappears and I keep talking, just hang in there. I'll reappear. I think, maybe. Anyway, so we all know that when we first start to do a haircut, we do the perimeter first, and we want our client's neck tilted slightly, not like you know, just, I call it dead neck, not dead neck, not completely straight. We just want it slightly tilted forward. And that's because it's a little easier for us to get into that nape area that's on a diagonal pointed forward towards us. So here in the nape area, it's easier to cut to palm when it's at the client's head is tilted slightly forward. That raises up this neckline and helps me just maintain good ergonomics while I'm cutting, because good ergonomics means that I'm going to be doing hair for a lot longer, which is good. It's good for any kind of career you go into, that you're going to do it a really long time. I digress. Back to the haircut. Are you guys here for the rabbit trails? Because there's going to be a lot of them. A lot. Anyway, here we go. So my perimeter is my guide. So my perimeter is this hair right here. This is my guide, my perimeter. Actually, I'm going to turn around right quick so you guys can see a little better, because I'm right-handed, so my working arm is going to be on the camera like this if I'm done that way. So I'm going to turn around this way. Back to it. All right. So now you can see. All right. So now I've established this guy right here is my perimeter. So this little bit of hair that lives right at the bottom of the nape area. So that's my perimeter. So now this is my guide. I've cut my perimeter at a 0, and now we're gonna start to raise it to a 90, okay? People tend to, or students, people that are doing haircuts, are starting to do haircuts. When you do the 90, in the nape, it looks like a 45. That's because 90 and 45 are at the same projection in the nape. Fight me for it. Unpopular opinion. It is. It's literally the same because it's at a diagonal. It's already at a 45 degree slightly, and I'm just pulling it straight out. So straight out from a 45 degree is at 90 degrees from that head shape. But if I go here and make the head shape straight, it's 90. Woo! This is also 45. There we go. Off my soapbox again. Okay, here we go. So, one more thing. I need to cut the hair, but I just want to mention one more thing. So between these two digits, your first knuckle and your second knuckle, this is where you have the most tension. So anything past the second knuckle is going into what I call the sweet meat, and you can easily cut yourself. We don't want to do that because if you're in school, you have to do, well, hopefully in the salon too, you have to do blood exposure and all that mess. You have to stop and just don't do it. Don't do it. Okay, so I'm going to measure out where my first knuckle of my two cutting fingers, on my pointer finger actually, so it's right about here. So I'm going to just take everything that lives above that point because I know it's going to be too much for my little fingers to handle. And I'm going to clip it up and out of the way. It's very important when you're doing a haircut for the very first time to really section. Take your time and section, please. You will have a more successful haircut. You will know where you're going. Sectioning is like hair GPS. It tells you where you're going to go next. Set my hand and my comb, and this is how I keep my fingers straight. I take my comb, I place it, and then I grab behind it. I flatten my fingers out, and I pull at 90. So let's see if you can see that right in there against my black shirt. That is a corner, so it comes out like this, so it creates a little corner. When we cut a zero, we create a square shape. How do you make a square into a circle? You take off the corners. This is a circular haircut. So all we're doing now is we're just taking off corners. So if you see a corner that matches up with your guide, cut it. So I cut like this because I have carpal tunnel. But most of the time, you guys are gonna cut palm to palm, okay? Just like that. So that is my 90 degree, right? If you have no idea where 90 degrees is, that's completely fine. Take your comb, and it's usually easier if you do a wide tooth. Take your comb, place it behind your section, not really in front of your section, but I place mine behind my section with the spine of the comb touching the area of the hair that I'm cutting. So now, what I can do is I can just line up the teeth with the hair that is in projection, with tension. And that's gonna show me 90. So if you are in a situation where you're like, oh my God, where's 90? You're having a brain fart, you might be having a little bit of anxiety, it might be your first haircut. It happens, and it's okay. Don't feel bad about it. Use that trick and you'll get right back on track, okay? So now, 90 is gonna change slightly. So here, right in here, this area, I don't know if you can see that, but up until right about there, that is where the head is pretty much on this doll a flat 90, a flat diagonal line. So it's pretty much like this. From this point up, it starts to slightly divert from that. So our 90 is going to change slightly from that angle that we had down here, which matches up with our guide right here, to right here. So it's a slight shift because now I'm working in this area of the head right here. So you see, yes, hopefully. If you were in class with me, this is the point where I would ask, you have any questions? Or does that make sense? I'll say that a lot because I am on the neurodivergent spectrum. So everything that I say does not make a whole lot of sense to people sometimes. So now there's my guide, right about there, checking 90. Got So now I've got my guide cut here. So at this point you can move here to here. I tend to just go all the way up and you know, go from side to side that way. But that's just me, that because I've been doing this for a while. In my beginners, I make sure I section the round of the head differently, or section it away from the nape area, just because it is a little bit of a different angle, and I want you guys to get used to this angle down here, and then we can go into the rounded head, because that's when it really starts. That's when it really starts to travel, and also our hand position changes too. So down here we're cutting palm to palm, which is beneath our fingers, and here we're going to be cutting on top of our fingers, following that round in that 90. So this is the point of the video where it's going to start to speed up. So cue music, maybe. Now I do want to mention right here at this area, this is where I tend to go into more of a realistic haircut scenario. So right here we have our hairline, right? So our hairline in the back shifts dramatically from having a lot of density down here to none here. So a lot of times what happens is this area right in here, you get a little bit of a window, and we don't want any windows, not in our haircuts anyway. So what I tend to do is, instead of bringing this completely straight out from where it lives, I'll bring this back into the previous section. So right in here, I pull this. So this is my section I haven't cut. Let me turn here a little bit so you maybe can see better. There we go. So this is 90 from this point, and this is a 90 from this point. So this is straight out from where this hair lives, and also is this. So I'm going to pull this back slightly to this. So I'm going to over direct to its previous section. The reason I'm doing that is to prevent any kind of holes appearing in my perimeter. We don't want any kind of holes. So this helps maintain weight right here in this area, because even though I've only over directed back slightly, I still maintain weight, which gives me a little bit more hair, a little more density to play with in this area of transition. I do the same thing for this side as I do the other side. So now back to the fast forward. now we've done the back, and we can move on into our round of the head. So this is where I said before that our finger position is going to change, and Miss Sally Mae's gonna have to get a little shorter because I am a little short. All right. So now we're getting into the round of the head, where the head starts to, you know, be more round. Pretty self-explanatory, the round of the head, right? So as you can see, I am placing my clips from one area of the head to the other. This is because I am an instructor. You know as well as I do, those of you who are in school, that if you take it from your SMA, it is no longer sanitary, and so it can't go from SMA to person back to SMA. It has to go to you to be disinfected because state board will get you. All right, and we want to make sure that we stay nice and sanitary, especially while we're in school. Good habits in school make good stylists in the salon. Good clean stylist. So now I've got my inch, which is the same width as my thumb, going down the middle. And this is the part of the haircut where it starts to get a little bit more, after this anyway, it starts to get a little more pivot pointy, I guess you could say. Because then we start to basically pivot. Alright, so this is where our finger position changes. So our finger position below the round of the head was here, here, there, fingers up, fingers pointing up. Now that we're in the round of the head, they're going to point down so we can come and follow the guide all the way without having to cause any strain to our necks or our backs, which is no fun. Okay, same as before. Right in here is my dividing line, and so right underneath that dividing line is going to be my guide. So the hair at the top of this section here is now the guide that travels all the way through the rest of the head. So I've got my guide right, can you see? You guys my white shirt? Right there. That's my guide. So I am, because of my height, I am going to come out like this one more time, just to make sure everything is reaching properly. Cool. All right. So now I'm going to cut in projection from this area right here, and then it's going to shift slightly as I go up. Okay. So here, making sure I have enough guide that I can see. Also, I need to shorten that a little bit because my fingers are short. It's okay though. Good things come in small packages. At least that's what I like to think anyway. All right, so now 90 is gonna come here. My guide is right there. It is literally right above my fingers. I can see it, but if I place my scissors here, I'm not gonna cut it. So that's where you want your guide to ideally be, is right there within your fingers. A little bit more like that. And then cut. Don't cut past your second knuckle, especially if you're in school, because nobody wants to stop and do a blood exposure. So my next position is here. You guys see that corner? Also, be aware that you are not dropping your section out of your projected 90 when you are cutting. So don't come in and do this and this, because you'll lose your tension, which means that you may cut something a little longer than you're supposed to. So always cut out in projection. Yes, your arms are going to hurt, but it's gonna be one super round haircut and super even haircut, and that's what we're here for. That's what we've come here for. Nice haircuts, good haircuts, round haircuts at this point anyway. So there's my guide there. It's my second knuckle, not gonna cut past it. and then 90 here. And then I'm at the very apex. So this was slightly this way, and now it's gonna come straight up because I'm at the very tippity top, highest point of the head. Okay, so now that I've got my traveling guide all nice and rounded out, I can now split it in half, right down the middle. And so I have a little bit of guide for each side. So this is my half-inch guide for this side. And I'm gonna work this way. I work right to left. You can work left to right. You can do the left side first, and then the right side. I do the right side, then the left side. Just how my brain works. It's not wrong if you go left then right. It's just different, which is completely okay. All right, so now I have got, or I have given myself 2 kinds of guides. One all the way in here, and then another one is always gonna be at the bottom of this section. So a guide is always gonna be right here. And then I also have a guide in the projected 90 in the round of the head. So I've got 2 guides to keep me on track. So I'm gonna come up to the very apex, the tippity top right here. And I'm going to then make a little pie slice. Okay? This is where it starts to pivot. Pivot! Anybody watches Friends? I hope you got that reference. Anyway, so now, ooh, come back. There we go. Got my inch wide section. I'm gonna take some from my guide at the bottom, well, at the top of this section, and work from the bottom up. I'm gonna split this in 2 here because my fingers are not that long. Making sure I'm coming out straight from the head. I'm not going back and forth. So it's coming straight out from where the hair lives, which is right here, making a straight line. Don't go this way or this way. This causes over direction. And then again, coming out here, finding my 90. There's my guide there. I don't know if you can see it, maybe against my black shirt. There's my guide there. Not cutting past my second knuckle. Boop. Now my guide is right here on the top of this section. And now my new 90 here. And then again in the round of the head, switching, shifting slightly. That was almost a tongue twister for me. Boop. Okay. And so then next, I'm going to pivot one more time, always coming up to the same point. Now at this point, you can either just use this guide here, or you can again split this in half, take some of where you've been, adding it to where you're going. This is going to take a little longer, but it is going to help you be a little bit more accurate. So if you are just learning this haircut, accuracy and understanding the concept is where you want to be mentally before you go and you diverge from the path, young one. Wahaha. Same point of the head, coming here, making a pie slice. Because who doesn't like pie? Pie. No, I want pie. Ugh, anyway. All right, so there's the section right there. All right. Oop, some of my hair got caught into the other. There we go. So again, coming in here. This doll does not have the best density. Where is clip? There's clip. Clipping that out of the way. Coming in here. Pivot a little bit. Let me pivot. Pivot. Okay. I'm sure you guys get a good view of this. My ergonomics are not the best at the moment because I'm trying to make sure you guys see this haircut. And moving on over to the other side. It's stuck. There she is. There, found her. Alright, so now I'm going to come in here again, coming up to center. Maybe my new section. So I'm gonna make sure that I grab some guide from the bottom. I also have another video on, if I've uploaded this to YouTube, it should be on here and it should be public. It is the state board haircut where I cut the razor, cut with the razor and the nape. So if you want to see the state board haircut, this is typically the haircut that you will be doing, the 90-degree uniform layered haircut, if you are in North Carolina, that is. So now I have come to the section that no longer falls over the hairline here. So it's going to naturally fall in this position right, let me turn her a little more. There we go. Right here. So it's going to naturally fall in this position here, which is not over all of this density here, which is right behind it. Okay, so it's going to come down and not back to where the other hair is. So just like I did with this hair right here, I'm going to over direct this back to over the hairline, okay? Again, I'm going to be retaining length because at that point in the haircut, we are coming to the point to where we have a big jump in density change, and we want to be aware of that. Okay, so that is how I cut in the round of the head when I'm doing the uniform layered haircut. As you can see, we've got a nice amount of layering right in here. Well, more than just right in there. Keep moving over to the side. Right in here, we have all these nice layers. Okay, and because we've cut vertically, we can check horizontally. So I'm gonna go ahead and just make sure, because I always check. 15 years of doing hair, I check, just because I'm one of those people that if I don't check and I'm like, you know, at sleep at night, I'm just like, oh my god, I checked that one person's hair. I may have oh my gosh, you know, what if they go home and they find it and like, oh my gosh, you know, you're an awful hairstyle. It happens. I'm not perfect. I will mess up. But not if I am consistent with my technique. I saw a little bit of weight there. Not if I'm consistent with my technique and I'm understanding where 90 degrees is on whatever part of the head I'm on. Okay. Always stand on the side and I cut. When I'm doing a class, I always tend to over direct slightly, so I'll get a little longer in my layers. I'm not afraid to admit it. I'm not afraid because I can't stand in front of the section when I'm trying to show you. So that's a good example of what will happen when you stand on the side, because your hand's gonna. Because if I stand on the side, I'm gonna push this way, right? So I'm gonna take the hair and I'm gonna push it out of where I'm supposed to have it. And so you'll go from short to long. Which in this particular haircut, we really don't want to do. We want to make sure that it is all even. See, look at that. See? This is why we check. Not off by much, but still off. When I teach, I'm not afraid to show that I may have not done it perfect. I don't teach because I'm perfect. That's not why I teach. I don't teach for my own ego. I teach because I want to make my students better. And how else am I gonna, show you? How else am I gonna show you that it's okay to mess up if I mess up and I'm like, just gonna, no. If I mess up, or I don't cut it perfectly, it's fine. I can always fix it. If I show you after 15 years that I still may have a little bit of a high spot, okay, that's fine. I'm gonna seem a little bit more real to my students. I'm gonna seem a little bit more approachable, because if I'm like, oh yes, I cut it perfect, and then you're over there struggling and I'm coming over and I'm like, oh, how are you doing? Oh, I'm fine. You're less likely to tell me that you're having a hard time. And I don't want that. I'm there to help you. I'm there to help you learn, there to help you grow. And so yeah. Off my soapbox, onto hair cutting. Like I said, you want to make sure you maintain saturation, the same amount of saturation throughout the entire haircut. And this is the part where we speed up. to get rid of like all these 50 million clips that go into your to be disinfected box if you are in school, and hopefully also if you're in the salon. Alright, so I'm gonna make my life a lot easier and so I don't get confused, especially if I'm new at this and just starting to do this haircut. I'm gonna clip the back away from the front because I'm concentrating just in this. Oh, look up. What are you doing? Don't be difficult. Okay, there she goes. Alright, so now we're going to be working in the front of the head. So just like we did with the back, to where we had that 1-inch guide in center back here, and then we moved up, we're going to also take do a center guide here. So we're going to take the hair that is right behind the well, right at the apex really, where we have split our bill right here. So the hair, this is now going to be our guide for the rest of the haircut. Okay, so I'm gonna change positions right quick and be right back. Okay, so we are back. I lowered her down a little bit so the guy didn't go off screen. You're welcome. So let's put her a little bit more center here. Like I said before, the hair right here at the apex, before you get to your front section here, is going to be the guide that is going to now travel to the front. We're going to do the same thing we did in the back. We're going to create a 1-inch guide in the middle. That might have been the right word. Mental. It's okay. Middle here. And it's going to be 1 inch wide. We don't, still at this point, we don't want to cause any kind of converging, especially in the front, because if they see any kind of off layering or weight and it's in the front, they're going to notice it a lot more than if it's in the back. Okay. So still standing on the side of your client. You never really want to stand in front of your client unless you're probably doing her face frame, but you're going to be standing either on the side or the back of your client when you're doing a haircut. I've got a little bit of where I have been and where I'm going. So now you can see here the head, let me call this down a little flatter. The head starts to shift, starts to round, so my 90 is going to shift slightly from this point. So instead of here, we're going to shift here. Making sure those strands of hair, are creating 90-degree angles of the scalp, basically. Straight out from where it lives. Now at this projection here, this is where I kind of stop rounding, especially because mannequins are a lot different than your actual people. And once, if you have not worked on a person yet, you will figure that out pretty quickly. The mannequin's perimeter is very thick. People's tend to be completely opposite. So mannequins are thick here and thin here. People are typically thick here and thinner here. So again, to retain some weight and a little bit of length, I'm not going to go 90 because if I was to cut the hair here in 290, it would come out like this. Not feeling it. I want to retain a little bit more weight in the front because that's more hair to play with. More things you can do. The more hair you have, the more things you can do. Or grammar, not really English, good grammar. Because this is what communication is all about. Effective communication. I'm going to take this and it's going to fall over. Just like right here. This is some of my guide here. And it's going to fall over the side like a veil. So I call this a veil guide because it falls over the section like a bride's veil. Okay? And just like when we are doing the back, We're gonna work in 1-inch sections. It's kind of a continuing theme in this haircut. I'm gonna turn her this way so you can see. I'm gonna come down here, create a 1-inch subsection. Everything is gonna push forward. If this is a client, you could just comb it straight down. So that is my section. So this is what she looks like if she was looking completely straight. So there's your 1-inch section right there. And it's gonna be vertical, and we're gonna do this same sectioning from here to here. So 1-inch sections until you get to, the front. Now what's different about the front is the back we work from the bottom up. The front, we're gonna work the top down, and I will show you. I'll flip her around because I'm gonna stand behind her. There she goes. Oh, little bit of a lean, it's okay. So like I said, we're gonna work from the top down because that's where we have most of our density. You typically wanna work from your higher densities to your lower densities. Well, I do anyway, just because that's just the way my brain works. I always want to go from high density to low density. Alright, and so, again, finding 90. Right around the parietal ridge, where the head starts to no longer round and starts to go more straight, that is usually my last true 90-degree projection, and I'll tell you why. So this is going to be my last 90, true 90, and everything below is going to come straight up to that last projected 90. And the reason why is because just like we did in the back, I want to make sure that I don't create any kind of, window into, so you can see their neck. It's not a good look. So you want to create any kind of window that's into their neck. Not in their neck, but you can, you know what I mean. Anyway. And I'll show you what happens when we over direct everything from below the parietal up to that last projected 90 at the parietal ridge. Because when we, get this out of the way. Alright, so this is what happens when we over direct, even if it's just very slight. So everything was over directed, except there's like 3 little hairs. Everything was over directed to this point here. Everything below the parietal. So look what happens. I'm gonna put the shoe real quick and show you guys. Look what happens as I walk it down. You see how it starts to go from, can't really, no, her hair's a little too limp, but her hair starts to go from short to long, which is what we want because we want to retain length here, right? Because we don't want any little boop, boop, boop. And as it falls, and from 90 degrees in projection, goes back there, right? It's going to go from short to long. So, as it goes, so now this is here, and this is way out here. So this is my length I've retained. So as I come down, you can see this is my length I've retained, which is good. Back her a little bit, which is good. I want this, especially this down here, that's right above the ear. I want this to reach this back here, and they do. So take another inch section, and after you take excuse me, a little bug out here. After you take that this middle section here, your last section should really just retain or encompass the hairline. And I'll show you, we over direct this back slightly, and I'll show you that, and then I'll do the other side in fast motion. Super fast. Well, not super fast, but you know what I mean. Da-da. Ooh, that was my knee. Ooh. Lovely sound effects. Okay, here we go. 90, and boop. Right there. Guide. There. Boop. And then it starts to slightly curve, so I'm going to shift its projection slightly. Always making sure that I am in control of my section, which is between my two first digits here. So now I'm in my last true 90 projection, because everything else below the parietal ridge is going to affect my links. I'm gonna pull everything back up. Everything back up to that last 90-degree projection, which is right there. So I'm gonna cut that. And then making sure I get all the little hairs. I missed that one. And this isn't reach, which is completely fine, because I cut another different haircut on her before. So if this does not reach, we do not cut it. Don't make a reach. Not everything in the haircut has to connect, especially if they've had a previous haircut. So don't make guides reach. Don't pull it out of 90 degrees projection and then oh, now it reaches, now I cut it. No, because if it's out of 90 degrees, you're now off of your projection. 90 degrees. Okay, so now for this particular section, I'm gonna cut it. Or I'm gonna show you him again. Okay, like this, it's fine. All right, so now I'm going to, like I said, 90, true 90 would be right about there. For this one, I'm over directing it back, keeping it in line with this hairline here. So just like that. Making sure that I am maintaining that length and that density in the front, because we're treating this like an actual real person. And there's been maybe a handful of people that had a really thick perimeter, but as far as like everyday people, no, it's pretty thin around there, especially if you have more of a mature clientele. Alright, so that is the front, and once I'm done, I'm going to obviously check, because we are not robots, we are human, and I don't care how long you've been doing haircuts. If you don't care if you've been doing it for 50 years, you still need to check. You might have just an off day, you know? The point of the story, check your work. Nice. I'm like, I said, it's like, oh my god, it worked, but sometimes I can have off days. I'm a creative person. Of course we have off days. So here, I'm coming up. Boop. Look at that nice straight line there. Because I've over-directed everything, I over-directed this back, this is kind of gonna go more straight than this. So, yeah, that's good. And that matches. And pulling this out to its projection as well. And, of course, that matches as well. Lovely. Yep. And this is the part where we speed up and do the other side. front and the back cut, we're gonna make sure that they connect because we use the same guide, yeah, but we got vertically, you know, we've got them so they really kind of haven't met yet. They know about each other, but they're just like, we haven't met yet, so they're not sure about each other. So let's make them meet. Let's make sure they match. Are they a good match? Matchmaker, matchmaker. Oh, can I sing songs like that? I don't know. I don't know how to do that stuff. I know how to cut hair. Alright. And take a little bit from the front, a little bit from the back. And let's see if they match. And this is from, so what I'm cutting off, I probably should explain what I was doing before I did it. Let's try this again. So what I'm doing is I'm coming in here and I'm cutting it into 90 just like I did the front. The only thing I'm not doing is I'm not cutting, turn lady, I'm not pulling this up into rejection. I'm not cutting this because this is now, you see how the density is there and she's got a nice pretty solid perimeter. So I want to make sure that these layers in here aren't too far from each other. But then I'm going to address this when I talk to the perimeter, when I get to the perimeter. Okay? So I'm not gonna deal with the hair that deals with the perimeter just yet. So take a little bit from the front, a little bit in the behind, and about an inch above the ear. Turn around, you probably can see better. Bad teacher, bad. So here's her ear right here, and about an inch above, right here, is what I'm not gonna pull up to this because I wanna keep as much density there as possible. Alright, and so one more time, we're gonna come in here and make sure needs to match. Two. One more time because we have two sides. I'm gonna pull all this down. I'm gonna pull hair from behind the ear, hair from the front of the ear, making sure not to pull out that perimeter. And then I'm gonna come in here and I'm going to check horizontally. And there you go. I mean, literally, boop, boop, just that one little high spot. Yeah. That is your finished 90-degree haircut. Now you do have the option of going in and cleaning up the face frame, and I'll show you how to do that, but your haircut's pretty much finished. Now we're just going to address this area here. Ooh. Oh, I'm picking up this big heavy thing with my hand when I can just spin it around. I like to do things a difficult way, apparently. Alright. Again, nice and saturated. We don't want to, especially in the front, we don't want to have any kind of differentiating links. That's what happens when you have neurodivergent brain. Like, words are hard sometimes, especially when you're trying to do two things at once. Okay, so now we're going to address her face frame. So you're going to come to the fringe area, which is from recession to recession, and it's going to come and meet up in a little triangle. So it's usually right about here, an inch or two behind the actual hairline. And so I'm going to take a little sliver slice and everything nice, right? So this is going to be the starting of your face frame. So however short she wants this is where you're going to follow. This is going to be your guide for your face frame. So She wants it below her chin, up to her nose, up to her eye. That's really short, but hey. This is when you would step in with your, you know, expertise. And you're like, I don't think that's a good idea. I suggest we not go all the way over here. I mean, you know, depends on the overall outcome that you're looking for that day. So we're going to now switch from our shears to our handy dandy feather razor, which is lovely and balanced, because if you can do this with your razor, it's nice and balanced. So that means the handle is no heavier than the actual head, so it's really nice and balanced, and it's not going to cause any strain on your fingers. Making sure that this guard that it's got on there that comes with is facing the client. So this, hello, this side here is facing her. This side here is facing me. Okay, so make sure not to put this right across your skin when you cut, because you will cut yourself, and then you have to do blood exposure. So this young lady wants just to, we'll do about an inch off. We did an inch off the haircut, so I'm gonna pull this together right here in the tips of my fingers, and with the razor, you're gonna come in at a, there we go. So you're not gonna come straight in like this. It's actually a slight 45, and it's more like a down motion. So it's more like a down and forward kind of. So it's like almost, so you're pushing in and down, and so it's like a sound effects. Love them. Anyway, let's do this. Let's see if I can get her to a point to where you can see. And I'm gonna come in at a 40, not straight in like this. It's gonna be at a slight 45-degree angle, and I'm gonna come in a downward motion. This is a feather razor. This is insanely sharp. Okay. Now that's just your general way of cutting. Now if you cut in and down like that, you'll cut a blunt yet soft line, which is pretty much what I like to do in the front, because I want to make sure that I'm not taking, and we want to make sure that we are, especially if they have a finer, words are hard, finer, texture, or the lower in the front. That's what I'm trying to say. Lower density in the front. We want to make sure that we are retaining some sort of integrity or strength or weight, or just, you know, in the front. So this is our guide here, and so this is, I'm working in a diagonal, I guess you could say diagonal back sections, and diagonal forward. Anyway, that section. My brain's not working, you guys. And then I'm gonna be over diagonal section there. And I wanna talk for a minute about your finger angle at this point, because the more flat or more horizontal it is, the more hair you're gonna take off. So if it's at a 45-degree angle, you're still gonna have a slight short to long, but if it's gonna take off a lot of this weight here. So be careful. So 45-degree here. If you start to pivot at a more of a steep 45, this is gonna retain more length, and then this is gonna retain the most amount of length. So the more vertical, or the more vertical your fingers get, so at vertical, this is gonna retain the most length. And then you can even come in here and do some slide cutting, but today we're just gonna keep it a little simple on the stall. So I'm gonna come in here, making sure that I'm not coming up here. I'm keeping it nice and low. All right, I'm gonna come in. That's my guide there. I may not have a lot to go on the stall. Yep. I'm gonna take that little corner off because I don't want that corner there. I want to create a nice diagonal. There we go. So there we go, like that. And then again, coming across. Again, keeping it nice and low. If it doesn't reach, don't cut it. So that tells me, since that popped out, that that is not going to reach right there, okay? So I'm gonna leave that be for right now. And then I'm gonna cut the other side. Again, making another diagonal section and pulling it this way. Woo! So now my fingers, instead of pointing up, they're going to be pointing down. So I want to make sure that I mimic the same angle that I did on the other side. Alright, so that is only going to reach over there. So now I've got solid, but yet still kind of like wispy pieces here. Now, I'm going to address this area and just kind of see if I like how everything is flowing, and I do. Alright, I want to make sure that I'm retaining length here, so I've got a nice diagonal. Sometimes you can come in and see if it connects. You can come in, come across, and I have a nice vertical there, and so that means that's gonna keep that length where I need it to be, which is gonna be right around in this area here. Okay. So that falls very nicely, so I'm gonna probably see it better. Doo-doo-doo. Coming in, and that's going to be connecting to that vertical line there. So now, I want to make sure that these front pieces here connect to the back of the perimeter. Now this is the area when you can find holes. So let's see. Yep. So you can see we have, even though she's blonde, we've still retained enough of a perimeter that you can see it, right? There's still a good bit of density right here, but yeah, she's still got a lot of nice movement in here because we went in and we made sure that at least in the round of the head, these layers connected, and then we retained weight here and made sure that this front and this back connect as one solid perimeter. And something on the other side. Awesome. Hope this wasn't too boring, or hope this was at least helpful. This is your 90-degree. Got, you can see lots of layers. The shorter you get this, the more Shag-esque it looks. And you can see it has a lot of movement. It gives you that Victoria's Secret, just luscious, like waves and movement and texture. And it looks gorgeous when it's blown out. And I'll actually post another video of how I do my blowouts So you have a nice voluminous body. I appreciate you guys for hanging in there. Again, this is Miss Megan, or Megan, whatever you want to call me. Signing off for my students. I'll see you guys in school. I hope this has been helpful. She loves her haircut. She's so happy.